it's mirrored.
And we are live. Hello, anybody that is watching live. I'm Sally Rice. I'm a new business mentor, and this is my Women in Business live in conversation series. I've had a few weeks off, but now I'm back. And today I'm speaking to the lovely Claire from the Bloom Experience. Thank you for joining us, Claire.
Thanks for having me, Sally.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Claire and I actually connected because we were on a course together, which has put us in touch with lots of brilliant female entrepreneurs. So yeah, that's how we connected. But do you want to start things off, Claire, by telling us a little bit about your career journey and how you got to where you are now and how you got to starting the Bloom Experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So my career journey has started, you come out of school and you get your jobs and pieces like that. And at the age of 18, I went into a sales role, and I loved the dynamics of sales because there was no day that was the same. Very much ups and downs. I always call it the bipolar job because you're either really high or really low.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like running your own business.
yeah, totally like running your own business. So I was in sales management. I went to a director of sales position, and was flying backwards and forth to Arizona, and it came about in so I decided to leave that job. I unfortunately got made redundant, and was set in the UK and was doing some kind of senior sales roles. And the reason why I was doing the role is to create a better life for myself and my family, but I wasn't seeing them very much. I was traveling here, there and everywhere, getting up at 5 a.m. and not getting home until 10 at night. And I thought something has to give. My children are going to be flying the nest before I know it. And I want to be able to pick them up on school runs. And I remember this one specific day, I rang one of my mummy friends and I said, I just can't do it anymore. I need to be around for my children. And she said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I love being pregnant. I love supporting other mums through pregnancy and birth. And she said, well, why don't you go into something like that? And that's where the journey started, is thinking, okay, I need to come out of the corporate world and set something up. And it, obviously my journey is not just completely just hopping out of the corporate world and setting a business up. There's much of an overlay, but I think taking that initial step was very super scary.
Yeah, that can be the thing, it can be the first step. And I think so many people procrastinate about that first step, and it can take some people a really long time to feel like they're ready. Although I think it's one of those things where you're never really ready. I think they say the same about having children, don't they? You never feel like you're 100% ready. So sometimes you've just got to jump in. And in that transition, like you said, I know it wasn't just black and white one day going from corporate to setting up your own business, but what were the challenges that you faced in that kind of transitional period and in, I guess, in the beginning of setting up your own business?
Absolutely.
What things really did you struggle with?
I think first of all was me procrastinating a lot. It was that inner demon saying, what are you going to do financially? Like, if this doesn't work out, are you ready? Are you sure now's a good time? Why don't you wait until the new year? And exactly like you said, there is never a good time. And if you do not leap off that edge, you don't know if you're going to fall or fly. So you have to make that, just do it. It's easier said than done, I know, for some people. So my biggest worries, or my biggest, roadblocks as such, were, I have no idea what to do to set up your own business. I do not have any idea about the fundamentals, websites, creating, the legal side of things. Can I use that image? Can I not? What should I put in my T's and C's, privacy policies, etc., because my dad always said, if you're going to do something, you need to do it properly. And I know that we freestyle a lot when we're running our own businesses, but that's more like those fundamentals that I needed to make sure I got right, so I didn't have a legal case against me. So
and Claire, you're nearly every female entrepreneur, every female that I speak to that has their own business has said exactly the same to me. And they're like, because obviously that's what I do in my business as a new business mentor. You know, I talk a lot about the practical foundations of business. So you set that up very nicely for me there. But, you know, the number of women that said, oh, I wish that I'd connected with you in the start, because yes, you can go and Google everything, but then of course you have different opinions and different things say different, you know, different places and different people say different things. And it's just making sure you get it right, like you said.
Absolutely. And you know, that's not just a walk in the park. The way I overcame that, it was I got a business mentor. I joined a group coaching course, and yes, it didn't teach me everything that I know now. By all means, you know, I think as an entrepreneur, you're always, you know, innovating
Always
yourself,
learning.
your skills, absolutely. But it did give me those foundations of, oh, okay, I need to look at getting a privacy policy, and, you know, the T's and C's, and, you know, learning about different platforms to use when you're launching membership, all the different key platforms, like I say, and programs that I wouldn't have necessarily known. So having a business mentor, not only knowing those side of things, but also to support me kind of emotionally as I evolved into this entrepreneur, I think is really, really important to have someone that you can go, I'm really stressed out today because my Facebook ad isn't converting, or you know, my website doesn't look right, and having someone else just to go, okay, let's talk this through. So, you know, having a business mentor was my one of the things that I invested in, and it was a really, really successful investment.
No, I totally agree. When I talk about having the right support a lot, whether that's a mentor or a coach or an accountability buddy, whatever it is, just someone I think to sense check, to set, you know, to soundboard, but also, you know, like I said to you when we talked before this live, you know, part of the reason why I do these lives is so that other women watching can be like, okay, it's not just me that felt like that, you know, it's not just me that didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, or I don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Actually, that it's all of us that feel like
absolutely.
that.
And like, don't get me wrong, if you have a multi-millionaire husband who can financially support and outsource all of these things for you, where you just have a one-to-one meeting with someone to go, okay, you can run those Facebook ads, okay, you set the website up for me, okay, you do that, then happy days. But I would say 99% of us do not have that luxury of having someone that can just, you know, click their fingers and it being done, and you just, you know, you just give them the information to put out there. We actually have to know those foundations ourselves to get going.
Exactly. And you're right. I think it can be a bit overwhelming in the beginning. But what about now, Claire? What is the Bloom experience? What do you do now? And what is your business?
Okay, so my business is to empower women through pregnancy, birth, and beyond. And I do that through offering different services. So one of the services I offer is hypnobirthing, which I promise is not dancing around trees, burning your bra, singing Kumbaya, and free birthing in the River Thames. It's all about feeling like in control of your birth, and having a positive birth experience, regardless of what route that goes down, through inductions, C-sections, etc., etc. But also feeling empowered as a new mother. And I pride myself in kind of helping mothers feel that they're wrapped in, you know, like a comfort blanket, and feeling very emotionally supported, you know, and nourished from the inside out, so that they know that, you know, with their mental well-being, that it's okay to say I'm having a really sad day, or to give them the tools to cope on those days. And I'm a trained maternity nurse as well, so I can go through things like, you know, babies with reflux and colic and sleeping, and all the practical side of things as well. But you know, I entered into that because I'm a mother of 4 myself, and I have been through this roller coaster of motherhood. And thought, I need to support other mums. That's my passion. Like, it just makes me glow from the inside to be able to offer those services.
You can tell by the way you're talking about it. Yeah, your passion for it. And it's, you know, it's really interesting. You say there about, you know, feeling supported emotionally, you know, and the roller coaster of motherhood. Like, I'm not a mum, but you know, people who have their own businesses, you know, my business at the moment, apart from my little fur cat baby, my business is my baby. And actually, you know, we're going to talk about mindset, you know, in this live, but, you know, quite often emotionally with the business, with having a new business, and your personal emotions and that roller coaster. I think you can learn the practical side of things. You can have someone help you with the practical side of things, but actually mastering your inner demons and actually trying to regulate your own mindset, your own beliefs, your own emotions. I think as a business owner, I think that is actually the hardest thing.
Absolutely.
Regardless of all the things that you learn about business, I think it's that.
Absolutely.
And I
It's
know that's
being,
obviously what we were going to talk about today.
yeah, absolutely. It's being honest with yourself and your emotions of how you're feeling and not masking yourself. Which is really, really important, because we can all, say, yeah, we're having a great day. And actually deep down, you're not going to tell your clients that you're having a rubbish day, but, with your peers and things, you should be able to say, I'm having a rubbish day, and express how you're feeling, but also have tools in your toolbox to be able to overcome that, have a wallow, but manage to get over that. But I think having support, I think women in general, and my expert isn't in men, so I talk a lot about women, so I'm not being sexist here, but I'm saying women in general really do need more emotional support than what's around us.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think what I learned going from being an employee to running my own business is that actually I hadn't even thought about some of these things. Some of the mindset things, some of my beliefs, like self-limiting beliefs. That's what I mean when I say beliefs. Some of those things that I was going to have to deal with, and like you said, find a way of getting yourself forward and moving yourself and your business forward. I hadn't even thought about before I started my own business. And I guess you don't need to think about all those things as an employee, but the when the imposter syndrome starts kicking in, and the is this going to work? Are people actually going to pay me to do this?
Absolutely.
It's a whole new set of thoughts and emotions to deal with, isn't it, when you set up your own business?
Definitely. And, mastering that inner demon is something that you can't just do in a day. You have to chip away at it every single day, because that devil on your shoulder is going to say, oh, it's a bit cold and rainy out there, don't bother going to the coffee shop and working, just slouch on the couch and just watch Netflix. And then you have to be you have to rein it in daily, and sort of keep patting it on the head and saying, not today.
No, you're absolutely right. It'd be lovely to be able to tick a box and go, yeah, mindset, done that, let's move on. But you're right. And I think it's about finding the right things that will then work for you. So, whether that is exercise, whether that's meditation, I've just started doing EFT, the tapping, journaling, whatever it is, working with a coach, working with a mentor, finding the right support. There's loads of options depending on what works for you. But I think you're right. I think finding those things, addressing it, and doing them every day is, I think that is the one thing that makes the biggest difference to your business. I don't know about you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, consistency is key for me. And in fact, that's one of my top tips is consistency. And that word is used an awful lot, isn't it, through business talk. And when I think of consistency, I think of, being consistent in your new practices. And that doesn't, when I think about the leap that I made to become an entrepreneur, and set up my own business, my consistent piece was to spend time with the children every day when I'm actually physically present with them, not necessarily being consistent in a business aspect, although I do have consistency points that I want to be, social media and things like that. But going back to why I made the leap, why I wanted to make the leap, and putting part of that as my consistency program, saying it's so easy, as you'll know as well, Sally, we're just having a brief conversation before we jumped on the live, is time can just go so quickly, because you can go from here, there and everywhere. But being consistent in what you feel true to self, whether that is having a half an hour swim in the morning, or being present with your children at breakfast time and sitting down, and so you're being consistent in your values, as well as your business, is so important. Because if you're not happy within what you're doing, then everything else goes to pot. Household, husband, kids, you name it, it'll all go to pot.
No, you're right. I was recently thinking about this, and I was talking to somebody else about boundaries and what boundaries that we actually have for ourselves, and actually not overstepping our own boundaries, because every time we overstep our own boundary, we're basically saying that the boundary doesn't matter. And I think it's, a lot of us choose to set up our own business for various reasons, but a lot of the time it's about having a better life or a better work-life balance. And actually, if that means, if we get to the point where that's gone out of the window and we're overstepping our boundaries all the time, like you said, if we're not happy, we can't help other people, depending obviously what our work is. And we need to keep reminding ourselves, I think, without being too cliche, I think of the why we decided to start our own business in the
Absolutely,
first place. Like for you, it was to spend more time with your family. For me, it was to have a better work-life balance, because basically I'd never had any. I think it's, like you said, with the consistency, I think we need to be reminding ourselves of that all the time, because
yeah,
it's,
absolutely.
you just go off on a tangent and suddenly you're like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? I don't enjoy this.
Absolutely. I think it's good to have kind of business consistent plans, and obviously personal as well. I think that's really, really key, because it helps to fight those inner demons as well, because you're being productive in your day personally and within your business. Yeah, they're really, really important.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. So you mentioned that was your first top
Yeah.
tip.
So
What, do
my
you want to tell us what your second is?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is a massive, the devil, the demon on your shoulder is, that comparisonitis that you can get, is comparing yourself to others. Because we've all done it. I look through Instagram accounts or social media and I'm like, oh my goodness, this looks amazing. And they're not you. So, there may be other people that offer the same similar niche as your business or your ideal client. However, they are not you. They do not bring that spark, or, your personality. And people by people. You may have the most amazing, incredible Instagram page or website, but actually, if you are not you, people are going to think you're an absolute fake. And I think we've all done it. We've all looked at someone's account
Oh,
or brought a program and gone, you're nothing like I expected, and actually you're not a right suit fit for me. So I like to think that people that invest in my services come on board because they have a connection with me, rather than what the service that I offer. I have
yeah,
turned clients down because I just have thought, you're not the right fit for
your
me,
work.
and I can't see that I can be true to myself and to give you my best, because you just do not fit in with what I would.
Yeah,
We don't click. So
it's not right
I
clip
think it's
fit.
really,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I agree. And I think it's also worth remembering when we look at other people on Instagram and social media and things, you don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. You might be looking at somebody that's been working a business for 10 years longer than you. They might have a whole team of people helping them do what they do and look the way they look and do
Yeah.
their video and their social media. And actually, we don't know that. They're not going to, most people won't, come out and be very honest about that. Some do, but not everybody does. So I think it's always worth, keeping that in mind as well, because it's too easy to look at people's social media and think and feel inadequate. I think I have a real, as we've spoken about before, I have an up and down relationship with social media, mainly because of that reason. But
Yeah.
I think there's always, I think, just before we get into your final tip, I think one tip of mine, I guess, is to unfollow people that trigger you. So if there's people on social media that trigger you in a negative way, or even people, maybe emails that you get on a regular basis, or even it might be people in your life, if they trigger you in a negative way, then you can unsubscribe. You
Absolutely.
can unfollow them, you can unsubscribe from the email, you can perhaps see that person a little bit less. I'm not saying cutting people off totally, but you can kind of move away from the things that affect you negatively. And it took my coach saying that to me going, oh yeah, I don't have to look at it. It
Yeah,
sounds
absolutely.
silly, but anyway,
Absolutely.
what is your third tip for us, Claire?
So it would be more about time management, and use time as if it's the most precious thing in your life, in your business life. Because again, that devil on our shoulder can say to us, you haven't been productive today, or really beat yourself up if you feel that you haven't been, like I said, productive or done the things that you wanted to do. So really, separate time and thinking, right, okay, I'm going to have a 2-hour block here, and these are the things I want to achieve. I'm a massive list builder, and I do that. I integrate that into my courses, actually, with practices for my expectant pet mums and dads to do, and in my meditation practices as well. I kind of give my clients lists afterwards to complete with practices. So, having being really precious with your time, and going on to kind of what you've just said, as if someone is taking your attention away from what you're doing that isn't productive and is giving you negative energy, then thinking you are not worth my time. You are actually renting space in my head for free, and we don't do that in business. So see you later. And absolutely being really particular about where you spend your time. It's so easy, isn't it, to go onto Facebook and you see a video of my other half says to me all the time, what are you watching on Facebook now? And I'm like, it's amazing, it's like a shark cage event. And he was like, what has that got to do with work? And I was like, it really doesn't, and it's the 4th video I've watched. And he was like, seriously, you spent half an hour? And I could have replied to emails in that time or done a meditation. So and another good point actually to do as well is to write down your time, or actually film yourself when you're working on like the time lapse, and you can see what you actually do and think, was that really resourceful? Was I being resourceful? Was it productive? And seeing where you waste your time. A bit like a food diary, but with work.
I think I'm definitely guilty of doing some of those things, and I think it's just catching ourselves doing them. It's awareness, isn't it, of realizing when we're doing perhaps not such positive habits to do with our work, and kind of catching ourselves and trying to replace that with a positive habit. Easier said than done sometimes.
Absolutely.
But I think you're very right, and I think planning is a big one. I've got my planner here next to me, where I plan a list. I've got my list, for today. But I think it's I've definitely gone through periods in my business where I've sat down at my desk and I'm like, what am I doing today? I don't even, I hadn't planned. I knew obviously there was things that I needed to do, but not, having clarity over that, whether it's on a piece of paper or using a system or, whatever works for you. I think it's, planning. Planning and having lists.
It's so important, because again, at the end of the day, when you lay in bed, and I like to feel that I've had a productive day and done my checklist, whether if someone else picked up my checklist, they'd think, well, that's not a very productive day, but to me it is. So it's down to the individual. But I would hate to get into bed at night and going, oh, so annoying that I didn't have a productive day. And then what happens is that that inner demon starts rising their ugly head and starts saying to you, you were rubbish at business today. What did you do? You wasted your time, and you go to bed feeling rubbish, which is not the best thing to do at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And worrying about things in the middle of the night. And I think we've all been there at some point. They were really useful ones. And I think that the title, Mastering Your Inner Demons, I think is, like you said, it's an ongoing process being a business owner. I think it's a constant piece of work, isn't it? But I think, the things that we've talked about today certainly will help. But it's finding the things that work for you, I think.
Absolutely.
Like I said earlier, but some really good advice. Thank you, Claire.
Great.
And if anybody wanted to connect with you or find you, where is the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, so all of my social media handles are the same. It's at the Bloom Experience. Bloom is spelled with a double M underneath, so the Bloom Experience, or the website www.bloomme.co. So I'm there as well.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant. Really nice to speak to you today, Claire, and some really brilliant advice there for anyone watching. If anybody's watching on replay, please do put in #replay. But no, it was lovely. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope everyone enjoyed the live today. If you're a female business owner and you're watching and you'd like to take part, please do get in touch. But in the meantime, thank you, Claire, and have a good rest of the day, everybody.